my dad accidentally rear-ended a Rolls Royce. Facing the icy, stone-faced CEO type, he asked nervously. Would it be okay to pay in installments? Over 3 generations? Then, without missing a beat, he shoved me forward and said. This is Gen 2. Dad, I'm seriously warning you, we've got exactly $58 left. I say we sell biggie. If we don't, we'll be eating scraps by next week. At the word sell, my dad spun around like I'd just suggested we burn the family Bible. You cold-hearted traitor. Over my dead body. I'd sell you before I sell biggie. Holy, watch the road. Bam. The crash snapped everything into slow motion. And then I saw it, that glinting silver are on the car we just rear-ended. My heart dropped into my stomach. I'd only ever seen this thing on TV. The kind of car you're either born into or never touch in your entire life. A Rolls Royce. My dad saw it too. He sank into his seat like all the air had left his body. You think, maybe the guy just slapped on a fake badge? You know, to show off? That last shred of hope died the moment the back door opened. Out stepped a young man. Tall. Sharp jaw. Ice-cold eyes. Arms crossed, leaning against the doorframe like he owned the damn planet. He didn't have to say a word, the billionaire energy radiated off him like heat from asphalt. I swallowed hard. Game over. That was a real Rolls Royce. Hands shaking, I pulled out my phone and opened Google. Rear-ended a Rolls Royce. How much to pay? Starting at 200 grand. The number nearly knocked me out. But then I saw a comment, you can go through insurance. Relief flooded me. There was hope. Max, I whispered, voice barely steady, I need to tell you something. My dad's square, sunburned face turned a guilty shade of red. He fidgeted for a full 10 seconds before blurting out. About that car insurance money you gave me last week. Lend it to old Miss Sussy next door. He paused. We're currently uninsured. Perfect. It took everything in me not to commit patricide on the spot. By now, the Rolls-Royce driver was knocking on our window. My dad and I locked eyes, shared a weird dead-anyway look, and climbed out of the car like it was a firing squad. We'll pay for the damages, every penny. My dad was practically bowing to the billionaire. The young man glanced at me. No words, just a cool flick of the eyes. I was just wondering, would it be possible to pay in installments? My dad asked, wringing his hands. It's just, the amount is, you know. The guy gave our beat-up Dodge Caravan a quick once-over and nodded. Installments? How many? A sheepish grin crept across my dad's overly honest face. 3 generations. This one here is Gen 2. And with zero warning, he shoved me forward like a sacrificial lamb. I almost face-planted into the billionaire's chest. He blinked, startled, and stepped back fast. Was that a blush on his perfectly pale face? Ahem. Second gen, do you have any special skills? Wait, what? Was this actually happening? Was the man seriously considering this generational installment plan? My dad perked up like a man reborn. He slapped my shoulder with fatherly pride and boomed. My daughter is a once-in-a-century martial arts prodigy. She can be your bodyguard. Pfft. The driver couldn't hold it anymore. His shoulders started shaking from laughter. The billionaire had already recomposed himself. He looked me up and down with icy disdain and let out a mocking scoff. Her? Martial arts prodigy? What is this, a sitcom? That look. That tone. That disbelief. Nothing pisses me off more than being underestimated. So I stepped forward, just one step, reached out, and grabbed his hand. He froze. Clearly didn't expect me to go full physical contact. What are you, AHHH? A scream tore from his mouth as his wrist popped. Dislocated. Silence. Everyone stared. Car repairs, 270 grand. Medical expenses, 50,000. Lost income, 100 million. The secretary's voice was crisp and sweet as she handed us the contract, wearing the kind of polite smile that felt like it had been rehearsed in a mirror. Wait, how much? I blinked. 100 million in lost income? Maybe I was sick. Maybe I was hallucinating. She nodded with practiced poise. Yes. Mr. Hayes earns approximately 10 million a day. His shoulder was dislocated and requires rest and rehabilitation. He's expected to recover fully in just over 3 months. We're estimating 100 days total. That comes to 1 billion in lost income. But Mr. Hayes is compassionate. He agreed to give you a discount, only charging 10%. She pointed delicately to the line on the contract. 100 million. The math was terrifyingly confident. My dad slumped back in his chair, the last bit of color draining from his already weathered face. I'm such a damn idiot. Dad, I whispered, should we just flee the country? Like, illegally? The secretary gave me a startled look, probably wondering how we still had the nerve to casually discuss escaping prosecution in front of everyone like it was a vacation plan. Heh. That low, disdainful scoff came from Hayes himself, lounging at the far end of the table, his arm in a fresh cast, expression pure condescension. Do you even know how expensive smuggling is these days? He said lazily. You think you can afford that? Slap. I slammed the table and stood up so fast my chair screeched. You don't get to look down on us. Fine. I'll sign. I snapped. But let's get one thing straight, no paycheck is fine, but you better cover room and board. And that's how my dad and I officially became part of the Hayes family's security team. Yes, the Hayes family has their own private security force, because apparently, when your mansion is the size of a shopping mall, you need 24/7 patrols just to keep track of your property. There's even a separate division for personal bodyguards. We were the rookies. The bottom of the barrel. So naturally, we got stuck on patrol duty. This is your room, Max, said the assistant to the housekeeper, pointing down the hallway. Your father's is right next door. She smiled, professionally sweet, and shut the door gently behind her. I dove onto the bed. Soft. Springy. Luxurious. I rolled around twice, like a puppy that just found a warm laundry pile. Dad! I yelled, practically vibrating with joy. They've got heating. And an indoor toilet. I'll never freeze my butt off in the winter again. My dad was busy caressing the flat-screen TV like it was a religious artifact. Look at this screen, this has gotta be worth hundreds. We're so damn lucky. And to think, just yesterday, we were back in our hometown, kneeling in the courtyard, sobbing into each other's shoulders. He'd even parted with Biggie, our beloved pig, gifting her to old Miss Sussy next door like he was passing down a family heirloom. We bought Biggie for food. But somewhere along the way, my dad got emotionally attached and treated her like a daughter. That goodbye had some serious farewell to my child energy. We spent a whole day marinating in sorrow. And the second we stepped foot in the Hayes estate, all that grief was obliterated. By dinner time, our so-called tragedy of working to repay a massive debt. Gone. Forgotten. All that remained was pure joy. Because guess what? Security gets an all-you-can-eat buffet. No limits. No rules. Take what you want, as much as you want. I counted. 20 meat dishes. 10 vegetable sides. 3 different soups. My dad and I stood there, staring at the feast like we were about to pass out from happiness. After a full day of eating like royalty and doing absolutely nothing, the honeymoon phase ended. Work finally showed up. The housekeeper brought me straight to Charles. She explained the new arrangement. When Charles is home, I report to the security team. When he leaves, I become his personal bodyguard. Personal bodyguard. Was this a promotion? Charles was lounging on the sofa, sharp phoenix eyes watching me with a mix of skepticism and mild amusement. "Max," he said slowly, "do you actually know martial arts?" I glanced around the room and spotted his desk, faded yellow, old wood, nothing fancy. Probably not worth much. Crack. With a clean hand chop, I sliced a neat corner off the desk. The wood split with surgical precision, smooth, clean, like it had been cut with a blade. Charles closed his eyes. His long lashes fluttered, and I swear I saw the muscles in his jaw twitch. Even his temple started pulsing like a warning light. He was clearly shaken. Huh. My skills never fail to impress. My dad was wrong, I'm not a once-in-a-century martial arts prodigy. I'm once in a millennium. Charles slowly opened his eyes again. But this time, the amusement was gone, replaced by a firestorm of barely contained rage. His lips twitched. He clenched his teeth. "That desk," he said, voice trembling with fury, "is a $1.2 million antique I bought at auction." He inhaled through his nose. "Your debt just went up. Add another 1.2 million. The driver wound us deeper into the mountains." I huddled against the car door, trying to put as much distance as physically possible between me and Charles. Preferably a few continents. He lounged in his seat like royalty on vacation, casting a lazy glance in my direction. "I had a rock climbing competition scheduled," he said coolly. "But thanks to you and your little dislocation stunt, I can't participate. So now, you're going in my place." He paused. "Loser has to pay for a brand new Ferrari. If you lose, that money's coming out of your pocket." My entire body froze. I slowly raised my trembling hand. What exactly is rock climbing?" Turns out, rock climbing means literally climbing a mountain. That's it? I blinked. That's what everyone was stressing about. It reminded me of when I trained in the cloud-stepping art as a kid. My dad, trying to toughen me up, used to smear thick layers of grease all over the wall I had to climb. Compared to that, this cliff? 10-year-old me could have done it with my eyes closed. "Yo. Hayes actually showed up," a voice called out. "And brought a girl? That's new." The guy walking over was obnoxiously attractive, gold blonde hair, perfectly sculpted features, prettier than most actresses. He looked like he belonged in a high-end skincare ad. Behind him trailed a handful of young men and women, all dressed to impress and dripping with wealth. I instinctively took a step back, quietly increasing the space between us. With that kind of fashion budget, if I so much as ripped a sleeve by accident, they could probably sell me to cover the damages. "Oh, come on, Charles, seriously? Still rocking that cast? You backing out of the race?" Everyone had noticed Charles's injured hand. The blonde guy, Noah, perked up instantly, eyes lighting up at the sight of the bandages. "Don't get too excited," Charles said flatly. "I'm not forfeiting that easily." With zero ceremony, he yanked me forward into the crowd's view. "She'll race in my place." There was a beat of stunned silence. Then the whole group exploded with laughter. Noah laughed so hard he wiped actual tears from his eyes. "Charles, have you lost your damn mind? You're sending a girl to compete for you? Ha 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 ha." He reached over and gave my arm a squeeze, like I was livestock at a county fair. "Pretty enough, sure, but with these skinny little arms? You ever even been on a rock wall?" I shot him a glare. "I've climbed mountains." Which only made everyone laugh louder. "Oh man, Charles, where'd you find this clueless little thing?" "Whatever, fine, let her race." "Hey, sweetheart," Noah grinned, giving my cheek a condescending little pat, "try not to cry halfway up, yeah?" I clenched my fists and kept my mouth shut, mentally repeating my new mantra. Can't afford a lawsuit. They're all loaded. Stay calm. No property damage. After a few rounds of that, I managed to settle down. A sharp whistle shrieked from the top of the cliff. Then ropes started dropping down one after another, 7 or 8 in total. The guys each took a position in front of a rope, strapping on climbing gear like it was a runway show. Noah's rope was right next to mine. He glanced sideways and gave me a playful smirk. "If you get scared, feel free to scream, little sis." I mimicked the way they suited up, clicks, loops, straps, copying every move. Honestly, I hadn't planned to wear any of it. But then Charles shot me a warning look from the sidelines, and I sighed. Fine. Obey the boss. Harness it is. Bang. The starter pistol fired. The race was on. "Hey, sweetheart," Noah called out, voice dripping with smug charm. "If you run out of strength, just ask nicely, Big Brother might pull you up." He turned his head with a grin. Only to find nothing. The girl who had just been next to him vanished. Gone. Not a trace left. Confused, he looked over to the guy on her other side. "Evan? You see where that little runt ran off to?" Evan's usually calm face twisted into a puzzled frown. He turned left, then right. "She was just here, holy sh*t. His voice jumped an octave. His head snapped upward like he'd seen a ghost. "Noah. Dude. Look up, look up." Noah rolled his eyes. Evan always overreacted. No wonder his family only ran a second-rate corporation, he was all nerves and drama. Still, Noah tilted his head back, casual, unimpressed. Until his smirk started to falter. "What the hell is that? When did a bird that big fly in?" Evan's voice was barely holding together. 4 parts panic, 6 parts disbelief. "Noah," he croaked, I think that's Max." When the starter pistol fired, I took 2 steps back, inhaled deep. Then launched. My foot barely kissed a jagged ridge on the cliff face before I shot upward, body light, movement fluid. Every rock, every foothold, seemed to lift me higher instead of weigh me down. For an average person, this climb would take serious strength and at least half an hour. But this? A 30, maybe 40-meter cliff? For me, it would take only a few breaths. I was almost at the top. One last push, my foot landed on a rock ledge, and I gathered my inner strength to leap. But I misjudged. Used too much. Instead of just clearing the cliff edge, I launched way past it, soaring nearly 10 feet into the air. Mid-flight, I tucked into a flip to absorb the landing impact, and the next instant. Soft landing. Solid ground. Nailed it. There were 4 or 5 people already on the cliff. Every single one stared at me like I'd just descended from another planet. Wonder Woman, someone mumbled. Rich kids are weird. I ignored them, strolled to the edge, leaned halfway off the cliff, and cupped my hands to yell down. "Charles. I won. So don't even think about adding to my debt." Meanwhile, down below, Noah and Evan were still frozen like statues, mouths open, necks craned, eyes wide. They hadn't even climbed 1 meter. By the time I hiked back down, chaos had broken loose. Noah and his group were surrounding Charles, yelling at him like he'd rigged the entire race. Noah had him by the collar, spitting with every angry word. "Are you kidding me? It was just a race and you used a jetpack? Tell me where you hid it, come on, where's the tech?" Charles leaned as far back as he could, trying to dodge Noah's spit spray, wearing an expression of pure disgust. "Jetpack? Really?" he scoffed. "If we're racing tech, I wouldn't even know where to start." Then he heard my voice behind him. Noah did too. He spun around and charged at me like he'd found the missing puzzle piece. "Let me see that outfit, damn. It's so thin. Where the hell did you hide a jetpack in this?" He lunged, hands reaching for the hem of my shirt like he was about to rip it off. In that instant, Charles, normally cool as ice, completely lost it. His face darkened in a snap, voice breaking into a sharp shout. "Leave him alive." The urgency cracked his usual composure. But it was already too late. Before he could finish his sentence, Noah was airborne. The moment my foot connected with Noah and sent him flying, I regretted it. Hard. If I injured another one of these rich boys, Charles would probably charge me so hard my descendants would still be in debt 18 generations from now. Think fast. I slammed a foot into the ground and launched myself after him like a human missile. I was this close to missing. So I redirected with a well-timed kick, tapping Noah lightly on the backside midair. The result? He switched from a horizontal spin to a vertical launch, shooting 3 or 4 meters straight into the sky like a glitching video game character. I eyeballed his trajectory, dropped into a horse stance, and caught him. Perfect landing. Full-body Princess Carrie. Noah was clinging to my neck, still screaming like he was plummeting to his death. I rolled my eyes at the panicked, pretty boy in my arms. Dude. Relax. I caught you. He finally went quiet. Then slowly tilted his head back to look at me. The moment our eyes met, I swear I felt him short-circuit. His whole body gave a jolt like he'd been hit by a defibrillator. From the outside, everything had happened so fast it looked like magic. 1 second, Noah lunged at me. Next second, he was flying sideways. Midair, he somehow changed direction. Then, skyward launch. Then, bam, safely in my arms. When I set Noah down on the ground, the entire crowd was still frozen, wide-eyed, slack-jawed, trying to process what the hell they'd just witnessed. I dusted off my hands and walked calmly over to Charles. What the hell was that? What just happened? The crowd erupted all at once, the quiet mountain ridge turning into a full-blown frenzy. Was that kung fu? Like, actual kung fu? Like the kind from wuxia novels? Noah had snapped out of his shock and was now bouncing around in front of me and Charles like an overcaffeinated monkey. The rest of the group had swarmed in too, faces flushed, breath quick, eyes wide with the same giddy frenzy you'd expect at a boy band concert. Charles gave me a subtle nod, then reached into his pocket and handed me a phone. I blinked. What was this? And then it clicked. He wanted a little performance. Something to really shut them up. All right. You want a show? I'll give you a show. Swipe. With one clean hand chop, I sliced straight through the phone. The top half dropped to the dirt, cleanly severed. The sleek, silver device that had sparkled just seconds ago was now in 2 lifeless pieces. Charles twitched. His eye almost spasmed. That was a $23,800 phone, he muttered. Used it for 2 months. I'll be generous, call it 20 grand. I stood there, still holding half the phone, stunned. Wait. What do you mean 20 grand? Charles shot me a cold smile. You broke it. For 2. Limited edition. You break it, you pay. I slapped a hand over my chest like I'd been stabbed. You handed me the phone. I thought you wanted me to show off. Charles rolled his eyes like I was the dumbest thing on legs. What I meant was, your skills earned my respect. You were supposed to get my number, not destroy the entire phone it was on. Nothing stings harder than a shattered soul. After the climb, the rich kids had someone haul up a grill. Now they were all gathered around, casually barbecuing on top of a mountain like it was a Sunday picnic. I slumped in a folding chair, staring blankly at my pale, delicate hands. How? Just how do I keep doing this to myself? I came out here trying to make money. Instead, I somehow ended up owing 20 grand. Max. Here, grilled beef skewer. Noah appeared at my side, smiling like a golden retriever, offering me a perfectly cooked skewer of meat. Get lost. I'm not hungry. Wait, what is that smell? Damn it. That smells amazing. Before he could say another word, I snatched the skewer from his hand and started wolfing it down, juice running down my chin. Got more? Bring me 20 more of these. By the time I was done, I'd raided the entire barbecue setup. Every skewer. Gone. Noah flopped down next to me, practically glowing. Max, other than that light body skill, what else can you do? I mean, someone as badass as you, why are you even working for Charles? Whatever he's paying, I'll double it. I perked up instantly, beef still hanging from my lips. My eyes lit up like someone had flipped a switch. Really? I owe him a lot. You'd help me pay it off? Of course. Just say the word, on one condition. Take me as your disciple. Teach me kung fu. 100 million and 1.54 million. Charles's voice cut in smoothly, he had somehow appeared right beside me. He reached over, plucked a skewer from my hand, and took a bite with annoying grace. Suddenly, the meat didn't taste quite so good anymore. Noah choked on his own spit. He stared at me like I was a legendary creature. Damn, now that's a proper price tag for a martial arts master. Word got out fast. Thanks to Noah's completely over-the-top storytelling, the rumor that Charles had hired a martial arts master was spreading through their social circle like wildfire. Nobody believed it, of course, they thought it was just another rich kid joke, exaggerated for laughs. A lot of people begged Charles to bring me along for a little live demonstration, but he shot them all down. Lately, he'd been locked in a strict routine, bouncing between home and the office like he was training for a time trial. Me? I was thriving in the security team. Like a fish in water. Ben. Max. Come on over, I just bought some fruit. My dad and I were sprawled out on lounge chairs in the garden, a table between us piled high with sliced melons, mangoes, and cherries. Phipps, our security team captain, a guy pushing 40, was at my dad's side, massaging his legs with deep reverence. Apparently, the day I went climbing with Charles, my dad stayed behind and soloed the entire security division. 1 versus 50. Took them all down. Multiple guys dropped to their knees mid-fight, begging to be his disciples. Max, Phipps leaned closer, glancing around as if we were about to swap state secrets. Word is, the young master's been a little too interested in you lately. It's starting to get Victoria Collins' attention. Wait, who's Victoria? I asked, perking up. Daughter of the Collins Jewelry Group CEO. Been chasing the young master for years. The families have been trying to arrange a marriage between them. I shot upright in my chair, heart suddenly racing. Seriously? Do you think she'll be like one of those TV villains? Slap a blank check on the table and tell me to leave Charles forever? My dad sat up too, our eyes locked. In that moment, I saw the same desperate hunger for freedom I was feeling. Phipps nodded solemnly. It's definitely possible. And fair warning, Miss Victoria's temper isn't exactly gentle. Max, you'd better watch your back. My dad and I sat in the room, both staring off into the void with tragic expressions. He opened his mouth to speak a few times, then gave up. Finally, he sighed deeply. Max? I finally get why, back in the old days, poor folks used to beg to become servants in rich people's houses. I nodded solemnly, heart heavy with shared sorrow. These days of comfort and free fruit platters were coming to an end, and the grief hit hard. Ring. The brand new iPhone the housekeeper gave me buzzed in my lap. I fumbled to answer it. Max, Charles's voice came cool and calm through the speaker. Get ready. You're coming with me. Yes, sir. It's over. My spine officially bent under the crushing weight of wealth. Inside the latest Rolls Royce model, Charles reclined in his seat with his eyes closed, looking like a bored prince. Starting now, he said without looking at me, I'll be giving you and your father each a monthly living stipend. 50,000 apiece. He paused. Yeah, I know. It's not much. But if you perform well, that number can go up. $50,000. Each? I nearly exploded out of my seat. My dad and I used to break our backs doing part-time gigs all year just to scrape together that much combined. Now we were getting it monthly, for existing. He. I couldn't stop giggling the whole ride. My brain was already racing through spending plans. New shoes. Real coffee. Maybe even a microwave that works. Shut up. You're loud, Charles muttered, glancing over at me in mock annoyance. But the corners of his mouth tugged upward. And in his eyes, was that a smile? Not cold. Not mocking. Something else entirely. Warm. Charles brought me to a private club. And not just any club, the kind of place where the walls smell like old money and the carpets are so plush your shoes vanish. At the very back was a dojo. We stepped inside and immediately hit a wall of noise, shouting, laughter, general testosterone chaos. Then the door shut behind us. Silence. All eyes turned. And then, Noah rolled his eyes dramatically and threw a smug look at a group of guys across the mat. Our martial arts master is here. Hope you're ready to get humbled. Across from him, a tall, well-built guy let out a dry, dismissive chuckle. Kwon. Third-generation heir to one of South Korea's top chaebols. Currently negotiating a corporate deal with Charles's family. He wasn't just rich. He was also a well-known taekwondo athlete, black belt, 9th Dan, national champion last year. So when Noah and the boys wouldn't shut up during the group hang, rattling on and on about Max, the mysterious martial arts girl who could supposedly beat anyone into next week. Kwon snapped. Max? A girl? And they had the nerve to compare her to him? He demanded a match. Over and over. Until Charles finally brought me in. Kwon looked me over head to toe, then burst out laughing, holding his stomach like it hurt. You? He flexed his arm and showed off his biceps, easily the size of my thigh. Kid, my arms are thicker than your legs. The guys behind him howled with laughter, some pointing at me like I was a circus act. You people really don't know your place, Kwon sneered. Oh, buddy. You're gonna regret that. I rolled up my sleeves, ready to throw hands, but Charles quickly pulled me aside, his face unusually serious. He's strong, he said, voice low. Won a ton of championships. And in your kind of fights, weight class makes a huge difference. He's easily double your size, Max. Are you sure about this? He paused. I'm worried you'll get hurt. His face was right in front of mine, handsome as hell, eyes intense beneath thick lashes. Real concern. Real care. And, okay. Wow. My heart started doing gymnastics in my chest. This man is dangerously attractive. Max? He waved a hand in front of my face. I snapped out of it and quickly wiped the corner of my mouth. Had I been drooling? I flashed him a dazzling smile. How many moves? He blinked. What? I tilted my head. It's just a friendly match, right? So I shouldn't make it too embarrassing for him. How many moves should I take to beat him? Charles stared at me like I'd grown wings. 10? Deal. I nodded, brushed past him, and stepped barefoot onto the mat. Kwon followed, climbing up with a snort of pure contempt. Kung Fu? Please. What a scam. He cracked his neck and smirked at me. Normally, I don't hit women. But they hyped you up so much, I figured I'd be generous and step in. In a few minutes, everyone here will see who the real number one is. Regret hit me instantly. 10 moves? Way too generous. I gave him a mocking laugh of my own, mirroring his smug tone. Bring it on, loser. You're a woman, Kwon said with a smirk. I'll let you go first. Okay. This dude had been breakdancing on my last nerve since the moment I walked in. And you know what? Screw his business deal. Screw his fake chivalry. I'm just a broke employee, getting wrung out by capitalism like the rest of the working class. Also, if there's one thing I hate more than being underestimated, it's an arrogant man with too much hair gel. What followed was probably the shortest match in martial arts history. The entire room went silent. No one even blinked. All eyes were locked on the mat. One move. That's all it took. The match was over before it even started. Quan hit the ground like a sack of laundry. I stood over him, gave him a little nudge with my toe, and scratched the back of my head. Oops. Might have been a little too fast. Aha, Max. You're a goddess. I love you, Max. Noah and Evan were hugging each other and screaming like tween girls at a pop concert, literally jumping up and down. The whole thing gave me déjà vu. I'd seen this before in those old Japanese anime I watched as a kid. Just like those three cheerleaders fawning over Rukawa Kid in Slam Dunk. As for the official match result? Declared a draw. Quan's team insisted he only collapsed due to altitude sickness and jet lag. They claimed I never even touched him. And everyone else? They totally bought it. Nodding like it actually made more sense than what they'd just seen with their own eyes. Max? Quan didn't actually pass out from shock, right? Charles was rubbing his chin, eyebrows knit with a mix of doubt and hesitation. You seriously didn't see it? He gave a sheepish nod. All I saw was this blur zip across the mat, and the next second, Quan was face down on the floor. None of us actually caught what you did. I stared at him, heartbroken. The greatest, cleanest, most elegant move I'd ever pulled off in my life. And no one even saw it? This must be what it feels like to be too good. Alone. Untouchable. A snowflake in a snowless world. Charles seemed to notice my mood deflate. He smiled and reached over to ruffle my hair. Hey, Max ever been out of the country? I looked up. Huh? Wanna go to Africa for a bit? My family and Noah's bought a gold mine out there. Figured I'd take you along for fun. We'll go by cruise. And while we're there, we can do some hunting. Take a jeep, chase lions, leopards, you'd love it. It was the first time Charles had ever said this much to me at once. His voice wasn't cold. Just casual. Inviting. A gold mine. A cruise. Hunting lions. It sounded like something from a dream, something way, way outside the borders of my life. I'd never even left the country before. Most of my years had been spent training in the woods with my dad. City trips were a luxury. And now he was talking about safaris. My eyes went wide. Are you serious? I want to go, I really want to go. I nodded so fast I probably looked like a bobblehead. Charles chuckled under his breath. He couldn't help it anymore. And for the first time, he laughed. When word got out that I was going on a luxury cruise to Africa with Charles, to hunt wild game and visit a gold mine, my dad's eyes went red with envy. Max, I heard Africa can be really chaotic. You sure you don't need your dear old dad to come along and protect you? I rolled my eyes. Pretty sure you stopped being able to beat me in a fight when I was 10. He let out a deep sigh and went full drama mode. Your mom passed too soon, and I raised you all on my own. Blood, sweat, and tears. Potty training, martial arts training, all me. I gave up everything. Didn't even take city jobs, just stayed in that forest so you could train full time. I don't have many dreams left in this lifetime. Just want to travel a little, while my knees still work. I thought about how he'd just polished off 2 pounds of meat and 6 bowls of rice at lunch. Suddenly, I didn't have a comeback. Ben? You around? Phipps's tanned face popped into the doorway. Little Zhang, what is it? Phipps tiptoed into the room like he was delivering state secrets. Ben, the young master's headed to Africa in a few days. Cruise trip. Big one. As per protocol, we're sending a team from the security division. He leaned in closer, eyes gleaming. You interested? My dad straightened up instantly, putting on his best wise elder face. I'm getting old. Don't move around like I used to. He paused just long enough for dramatic effect, then added. But since our Max is going, I'd never forgive myself if something happened. Guess I've got no choice but to tag along. Phipps practically lit up. He rushed over, grabbing my dad's hand with both of his. Ah. With you and Max coming, we're golden. The whole trip just got 10 times safer. Charles dragged me out early in the morning, practically buzzing with excitement. We're going somewhere special, he said. Got a surprise for you. I didn't know what I was expecting. But it sure wasn't this. A luxury suite. Velvet sofas. Chandeliers dripping crystals. And 7 or 8 young women, beautiful, poised, lined up like contestants on some high-end fashion reality show. What was this? A runway audition? Then Charles snapped. Stop spacing out. Pick an outfit. It took me a second to realize what was actually going on. The girls weren't here for themselves, they were here for me. They were my personal fitting models. I didn't have to try anything on. I just pointed at a dress, and one of them would wear it for me. Capitalism, man. These rich people are so lazy, I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to hire someone to poop for them. Charles pointed casually. Wrap up everything except the pink one. I grabbed his wrist. Hey. I'm supposed to be your bodyguard, remember? These are all evening gowns. How am I supposed to fight in this stuff? Charles leaned in, his voice low and smooth right in my ear. They're not for fighting, they're for distraction. Welp. I was distracted, all right. Because no matter how tough a girl is, show her a rack of diamond-draped gowns and she will feel the princess fantasy. There were pearls. Crystals. Hand-beaded bodices. I felt like I'd stepped into a dream I never let myself have. All of this is for me? Charles raised an eyebrow, smirking slightly. Technically, they're on loan. Be careful with them. You break it, you buy it. I choked. My hand trembled as I pointed to a sleek black mermaid dress. That one, how much? One of the stunning assistants knelt gracefully beside me, her voice sweet and soft. That gown retails for $18,000, honored guest. I flopped backward in the chair, staring at the ceiling in despair. I looked at Charles. Can I not borrow anything? He gave me a smile so cruel it could have frozen fire. No. My date isn't walking and looking cheap. Later, the assistant butler wheeled all the bags into my room, all of them, and kindly placed a price list on my bed. I unrolled it. It was 2 meters long. Every item had a price that made my pulse spike. $5,000 hair clip. $40,000 ring. $8,000 silk scarf. $90,000 bracelet. And then $620,000. For a necklace. My hand shook as I flipped to the bottom of the list. And there it was, a number so large, it looked like a phone number. Or maybe a bank routing code. I couldn't tell anymore. Then I thought. Wait. What's the difference between owing 100 million and 200 million? Still can't pay it off in this lifetime. Probably not the next one either. Problem solved. I smiled peacefully and opened the jewelry box. Oh. My God. The pink diamond necklace sparkled so hard it hurt my soul. It was heartbreakingly beautiful. And the earrings, 5-carat diamonds, easy. No way I'm sleeping tonight. Ah, the sea. The open ocean stretched out before me, deep blue and endless. And the cruise ship, massive, shining, majestic. I felt so moved I almost wanted to recite poetry on the spot. Ah. Ocean. You are so full of water. My dad's booming voice echoed from behind, before Phipps hurried over and rushed him up the boarding ramp in mild panic. As Charles's official date, I was escorted to the VIP deck, the kind where the carpet alone probably cost more than my childhood home. Barely had I settled in when Charles's assistant approached me. Mrs. Collins would like to see you. Oh great. I followed him to the ship's presidential suite, straight into what looked like the set of a royal family drama. Sitting inside was a stately woman, elegant and composed, and next to her, a stunning girl with perfect posture and flawless makeup. Standing nearby was another woman, tall, poised, intelligent-looking. The kind of polished assistant who probably makes six figures just for breathing efficiently. The assistant gestured grandly as I stepped in. "Allow me to introduce, this is Mrs. Collins, and this is Miss Victoria Collins, heir to Collins Jewelry, and the future daughter-in-law of the Hayes family." Victoria didn't stand. She didn't smile. She just gave me a once-over like I was gum-stuck to the bottom of her Louboutin. Her perfectly tailored suit screamed wealth, control, and zero tolerance for girls like me. I glanced at her assistant with envy. Those rich lady personal aides? They've got to be rolling in salary. Ahem. Victoria's voice was icy, bored. "So. You're Max." I have to admit, the name fits, plain and provincial. I hate girls who crawl up from the bottom. Always clingy. Like leeches. I gave her a quick top-to-bottom scan. Thanks to a crash course in luxury jewelry this past week, I now knew the price of everything she was wearing. That necklace? I had one just like it in my box. $180,000. Easily. Yeah, definitely not starting a fight in this room. I couldn't afford it. Mrs. Collins gave Victoria's hand a gentle pat, then shot her assistant a look that said, "Escort the poor girl out now, would you?" "Well," she said smoothly, "now we've met. Charles has always had good taste, I'm sure everything will work out just fine." I was let out with all the grace of someone being removed from a boardroom she never belonged in. God. Rich people are exhausting. Honestly? Charles is the only one I can stand. Inside the makeup room, I stared at the mirror, almost not recognizing the girl looking back at me. Elegant black evening gown. Glossy black hair. Bright red lips. Eyes sharp, skin glowing. Was this me? Becky, the makeup artist, was practically squealing behind me. "Max, your skin is flawless. Seriously, what do you use?" She circled me like I was a museum exhibit. "And your body proportions?" "Ugh, I've never seen legs that long in real life." She gently poked my arm and gasped again. "Your arms are so toned. Girl, how do you train? Please tell me your routine." "How do I train?" "Well, since the age of 3, I've been waking up at 5 a.m. to hold a horse stance for an hour. Then I'd strap sandbags to my ankles and run up a cliff. After that? Light body training on a slippery wall, followed by balance drills on plum blossom poles. Lunchtime meant a quick nap, then wooden dummy drills, weapons practice, and one-on-one sparring with my dad. After I started school, things relaxed, only 2 hours of morning training and 3 more after class. Oh, and my dad didn't let me sit during lessons. He made me hover over the chair in a half squat to build leg strength. The only time I was allowed to sit properly was during breaks. Rain or shine. Heat waves or blizzards. Never missed a day. Not once. I thought back on 20+ years of hardcore training, and smiled sweetly. This body? Totally natural. Becky stared at me like I was a goddess. "I hate you in the best way possible." She looked ready to cry from sheer envy. Charles was already waiting at the door. He stood there in a black suit, looking every bit like a prince from a high-end fashion spread. The moment he saw me, his eyes lit up. But only for a second. Then he frowned, his gaze narrowing. "Max, that dress doesn't suit you. Go change." I responded by rolling my eyes as hard as humanly possible, then grabbed his arm and looped mine through it. "Not a chance. I've never looked this good in my life. Deal with it." As we walked down the corridor, heads turned. People actually stared. Until Charles shot them a death glare, and they all quickly remembered something very important in the opposite direction. Noah kept popping up like a stray cat, circling me. I finally smacked him away, annoyed. "Stop hovering. You're making me dizzy." Holy, Max. Noah gasped dramatically like I'd just shapeshifted in front of him. Max, you're unreal. I didn't even recognize you. I waved him off, grinning so wide my face hurt. Oh, stop it, stop it. Ahahaha. Eventually, he and Charles wandered off to schmooze with some other VIPs, leaving me alone with a plate in one hand and my phone in the other. The buffet was packed with food I couldn't name. I aimed my phone at a pitch-black blob and let the app do the work. Caviar. Extremely expensive. Nice. I grabbed a big scoop and popped it into my mouth like a true high society queen. Bleg. Disgusting. Fishy. Salty. Slimy. I gagged. Spat. Wiped my tongue. Ha 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 ha. Oh my god, I can't, this is killing me. The voice came from behind. I turned to find Victoria, in full sparkle mode, flanked by a crew of jeweled-up rich girls. They'd surrounded me like lions circling a stray rabbit. Victoria tilted her head with faux pity, her smirk razor-sharp. Come on, girls, you can't blame her. It's not like someone from the boonies would know how to eat real food. So you're Charles's bodyguard? Wow, one of the girls snorted. Charles really brought a bodyguard to a formal dinner? I rolled my eyes and ignored their buzzing voices. Ooh, was that Wagyu? That beef looked like something out of a food commercial. Rich marbling, perfect sear, buttery edges. Time to attack. Move. I casually shoved aside a girl in a white mermaid dress, plopped down, and speared a massive cut of beef onto my plate. Heaven. Melts in your mouth. Rich but clean. Like meat made by the gods. While I reveled in my flavor-induced euphoria, Victoria grew visibly annoyed. Hey. Broke trash. I'm talking to you. I sighed, chewed slowly, and swallowed, savoring every last bite, before turning to her. Yes, I'm poor. My mom was a narcotics officer. She was killed by drug traffickers when I was very young. My dad took me into hiding, deep in the forest, to keep me safe. I grew up off the grid. Hunting, surviving. I've eaten wild game, but never anything like this. This is the first time in my life I've been somewhere this fancy, and had food this incredible. So if you don't mind. I smiled, gently tapping my plate with my fork. Can I please keep eating? The room went quiet. Victoria froze, stunned. Even the girl I'd nudged aside blushed deep red. I'm sorry, she mumbled, staring at her shoes. Just like that, the sneers faded. Pity replaced mockery. People glanced at each other, some visibly uncomfortable. Someone near the back muttered loud enough to be heard. Victoria, she's the daughter of a hero. You should apologize. Victoria's face flushed, eyes wet with frustration. She stammered a few half-formed syllables, clenched her fists, then spun on her heel and stormed off. Bingo. Turns out, nothing cuts deeper than the truth. I hummed happily, aimed my phone at the next mystery dish on the buffet, and returned to what truly mattered. The food. I was mid-bite, fully living my best buffet life, when Noah crept up beside me, eyes gleaming with mischief. Max, he whispered like we were in a spy movie, you know how to use throwing weapons? Like shum shum shum, deadly accurate? My cheeks were stuffed with lobster, hamster style. I nodded while trying to chew faster. MMPH, so good, what? Yeah, throwing knives, darts, all of it. Delicious. Noah's whole face lit up. He turned on his heel and snapped his fingers. Bring it in. One of the guys behind him stepped forward carrying a long, black box. He set it gently in front of me and opened it. I stopped chewing. Inside was a row of throwing knives, each about an inch long. The handles were wrapped in tight black sinew. The blades, thin and glinting with a subtle sheen, looked razor-sharp. The kind of edge that whispered danger just by existing. Holy hell. Good knives. Noah started gesturing wildly beside me. These are forged from high-grade steel, can slice through iron like tofu. And check this out, he whipped out a belt harness, custom sheath setup disguised as a waist sash. Just strap it around your waist, and boom, when the bad guys show up, shum shum shum. Instant badass. As a martial artist, few things in life are more magnetic than a perfectly crafted weapon. I wiped my lobster-greased hands on my ridiculously expensive gown, sorry, Charles, and reached out with reverent fingers. The knives lay in the velvet-lined box like they'd been waiting for me all along. My dream knives. My soul weapons. I could feel it. I blushed. Hard. These are for me? I stammered, my voice catching like I'd just been proposed to. Noah's peach blossom eyes curved into a grin. Of course they are. I had them made just for you. Ah. Noah. Thank you so much. I was overwhelmed, beyond thrilled. I jumped up, grabbed his face, and planted a big fat kiss right on his cheek. I was about to go in for round 2 when someone yanked me backward, arms locking around my waist and lifting me clean off the ground. My feet dangled midair as I kicked once, twice, then turned around and glared at Charles. Put me down. Noah just stood there, face red, both hands pressed to his cheek like he'd been struck by divine light. Then he lowered his hands to his chest, eyes wide, staring at me like a stunned cartoon character. Charles looked like he was about to explode. His jaw was tight, face practically glowing with rage. He set me down, but then gripped my shoulders, eyes blazing. Max, he growled through clenched teeth. I've spent millions on dresses and jewelry for you, and I've never seen you this happy. I rolled my eyes so hard I could see yesterday. That stuff's all on loan, remember? You told me I'd have to pay for it if I damage it. Charles opened his mouth, paused, and then just stared at me, fuming, like he was trying to burn holes in my forehead with sheer willpower. Bang! 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 Suddenly, gunfire echoed through the chandelier-lit hall. Crystal goblets shattered. People screamed. The music screeched to a halt. No one moved, paralyzed with shock. Then, 2 full lines of men in matching camouflage stormed in through the grand entrance. Different ethnicities, same expression, cold, controlled, armed to the teeth. Every one of them carried a heavy-duty machine gun. They spread out fast, surrounding the entire ballroom. Leading them was a man built like a military tank, easily 6'6", thick arms, squared shoulders, face like granite. He started barking out something in a language I didn't recognize. It sounded like machine gun fire in verbal form. I blinked, turning to the suddenly pale Noah and Charles. Wait, what? What did he say? Everyone hit the floor. Charles yanked me down beside him, his face pale, really pale. His voice trembled with a mix of fear and grim clarity. That man is a wanted international criminal. A billionaire hunter. He's behind dozens of high-profile kidnappings, has an entire fleet of pirates under his command. Our ship didn't even make it out of port. They've been watching us from the start. I blinked. Charles, what? He looked me dead in the eyes. Max. Can you swim? A little? Charles leaned in, his voice low, urgent. I'd never seen him like this before, dead serious, all charm gone, laser-focused. Max, listen to me. These people are brutal. If you're not rich or useful, they don't leave survivors. You have light body skills. If you get the chance, run. Get out. Don't look back. That stopped me cold. I'd been in plenty of fights growing up. Always the last one standing. My friends would bolt with a wave and a shout. Max. We're leaving it to you. But this? This was the first time someone told me to run. Charles was still talking, mouth moving fast, probably telling me where the lifeboats were. But I couldn't hear him. All I could hear was the deafening thump of my own heartbeat. Thud. Thud. And then, bang 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 bang. Gunfire cracked through the ballroom again. Several staff members, waiters in uniform, collapsed instantly. No warnings. No threats. The room froze in collective horror. Then came the orders. Men to the left. Women to the right. Everyone moved in stunned silence, herded like cattle under the gaze of machine guns. And just like that, the night turned from glamour to nightmare. Soon, all the women had been forced to gather on one side, crying, trembling, some barely able to stand. A group of tall men stood in the center of the chaos, eyes crawling over us with sick, twisted grins. Predators circling prey. One of them, a guy with a jagged scar down his cheek, suddenly raised his gun and pointed it straight at Victoria. Her perfect makeup was already smeared with tears. She shook her head violently, refusing to get up. Bang! He fired into the air without hesitation, then pointed the barrel at her again. No more patience. No bluffing. The once glamorous ballroom, crystal chandeliers, champagne towers, velvet drapes, was now a shattered war zone. Glass everywhere. Blood in the air. People crying in corners. Victoria cracked. She shoved the woman next to her. The girl stumbled forward, a curvy, well-dressed woman who tripped and landed hard right in front of the pirates. That's when one of them, a short guy with a gold tooth, noticed her. He sauntered over, grabbed her chin, and tilted it up. Grinning. Approving. Oh hell no. That was Charles's mom. Before I could even process the rage in my chest, 3 more girls were dragged from the crowd, picked like cattle at market. Scarface leaned over and whispered something to the big guy in charge. They exchanged a nod. Clearly, they were planning to move the girls somewhere else. The crying got louder. Desperate. Wild. And the pirates just laughed. Laughed like this was all part of the evening entertainment. I took a deep breath. Then I stood up. Can I switch with her? I asked, raising my hand calmly. I pointed directly at Charles's mom. She looked up, red-eyed and stunned. Her mouth parted in disbelief. For a second, everyone froze. Then the room burst into laughter. The short pirate doubled over, wiping tears from his eyes. He walked over and yanked me forward by the arm, still chuckling. I didn't resist. I kept my face neutral. Inside, I was already calculating, timing, spacing, numbers, exits. Let them laugh. Let them think I'm just another girl. They had no idea what I was about to do. Under the crushing weight of dozens of terrified, pleading eyes, Charles's, my dad's, Noah's, we were dragged out. Me. Charles's mom. And a few other girls. Right before the door shut behind me, I caught Charles's agonized gaze. I winked at him. We were led down the hall and shoved into a luxury suite. Plush carpets. Gilded mirrors. Velvet everywhere. The kind of place you'd expect champagne, not a hostage crisis. The pirates slammed the door shut behind us, laughing as they tossed us to the floor. Then they started picking. Pointing. Whispering. Deciding. I stood up. The others just stared at me in confusion, some shocked, some terrified, watching me calmly smooth down my dress. What they didn't know. The moment that first gunshot rang out back in the ballroom, I'd already wrapped my throwing knives around my waist. The black belt sheath Noah made blended imperfectly with my gown, looked like a fashion accessory. One of the pirates, the short one who'd laughed earlier, grinned and started walking toward me, clapping like I was putting on a show just for him. He reached out, hand inches from my face. Wrong move. I launched forward. In a flash, I was airborne, legs twisting around his neck, flipping him down with a chokehold before he could blink. My fingers moved in a blur. I spun, drew 3 blades. Every pirate in the room got a knife in the wrist before they even registered what was happening. Blood bloomed like red ink in water. Then I slammed both palms into the short one's temple. He dropped like a rock. Before his body even hit the carpet, I was already on the next target, then the next. 5 seconds. Maybe 6. Every single pirate in the room was down. Silent. The girls stood frozen. Eyes wide. Mouths open. Like I'd just glitched the matrix in front of them. I scanned the ceiling, spotted the air vent, and jumped. Pulled it off clean. Then I turned back to the group, my voice soft now. Okay. I'm going to lift each of you up into the vent. Once you're inside, stay quiet. Stay hidden. Don't come back down, no matter what. Max? Charles's mom was the first to speak, voice trembling. She looked at me like I'd just parted the sea. Thank you. And in her eyes, I saw it. Not just gratitude. But hope. Once I'd hoisted the last woman into the vent, I finally had a moment to breathe, and grabbed a comms device from one of the unconscious pirates. I radioed the butler. With the power of the Hayes family behind us, I knew backup would come fast. But we were in open waters now. Deep sea. Even with rapid response teams, it would take time. And by the time they got here, this ship might already be a battlefield. I thought fast. Step 1, find my dad. If I could regroup with him, Phipps, and a few of the other bodyguards traveling with the billionaires, we'd have ourselves a small army. Navigating the lower decks was a nightmare. Every corridor had guards, patrols every few steps, eyes everywhere. By the time I slipped into the next level of the ship, I was drenched in sweat and one bad mood away from going full berserker. I knocked out the guards at the door and eased it open. Inside, sure enough, my dad, Phipps, and a bunch of others were sprawled across the floor, out cold. The pirates must have figured they were bodyguards, valuable assets, so they'd used tranquilizers instead of bullets. Probably planned to recruit them later. But here's the thing, these guys were so drugged up, no average person could have woken them. Lucky for them. I'm not average. I moved fast, shaking, nudging, pressure point tapping, whatever it took to pull each one out of it. And just like that, we had a team. A real one. When we made it back to the upper deck, we moved in silence. Upstairs, the lead pirate, tall, broad, African descent, sat calmly in the center of the grand hall, legs crossed, boots kicked up like he owned the place. Next to him, a small table. And on that table, a laptop. A wiry man in glasses sat behind it, fingers flying over the keyboard. The system was slick. One by one, the billionaires, still on their knees, crawled forward. Each was forced to give verbal instructions to their assistants or bankers on shore, wiring obscene amounts of money into offshore accounts. I scanned the room. The guards at the main entrances were down. My work. But inside? Still more than 50 people. Armed. Alert. Time was running out. 1, 2, 3. I dropped out of the air vent like a shadow, landing silently behind the chaos. In a single, fluid motion, I tossed over a dozen smoke grenades across the ballroom. Boom. PSSSSHHHH. Thick white fog filled the space almost instantly. What was moments ago a glitzy, floodlit hostage room became a blinding haze of smoke and panic. From the main entrance, my dad and the others slipped in like ghosts, neutralizing targets without a sound. The pirates scrambled, disoriented. Blinded by smoke, afraid to shoot for fear of hitting their own. It didn't take long. By the time the fog began to thin, the fight was over. Pirates lay scattered across the floor, unconscious or groaning in pain. At the center of it all, their leader, face down, arms twisted behind him, completely pinned under me. Outside the ship, a sharp, high-pitched horn wailed. Rescue had arrived. Through the deck windows, we saw the flashing lights of naval vessels and helicopters slicing across the sea sky. The International Task Force swarmed aboard like a well-oiled machine. Each pirate was handcuffed and hauled away one by one. It was done. Charles staggered across the floor toward me, pale, eyes glazed with relief and exhaustion. I gave him a proud, almost smug little smile. And then he pulled me into a hug. "Max, you scared the hell out of me." His voice cracked as he buried his face in my hair, one hand cradling the back of my head, the other trembling slightly against my back. I felt a warm dampness on my neck. Was he crying? I wrapped my arms around him in return, my chest pressed against his. The pounding heartbeat between us was fierce, loud. I couldn't tell if it was his, or mine. He held me a moment longer, then pulled back. His eyes met mine, and for the first time, there was something unspoken there. Something more. The air felt heavier, warmer, charged with something that didn't have a name. And right as the silence turned soft and almost dangerous. "Max." Noah came barreling into us, tears streaming down his face, laughing like a man who saw his life flash before his eyes. He latched onto my arm like a toddler. "If you hadn't been here, I'd be dead. I swear, Max, I owe you my whole life. I'll marry you. Right now. Say yes." And just like that, the moment shattered. Typical Noah. During the final head count, someone noticed a few people were missing. Hayes's mother, Victoria, and several other heiresses from major families. Crap. I smacked my forehead. I forgot them in the air ducts. Needless to say, the Africa trip was officially cancelled. Everyone, still reeling from the hostage crisis, returned home, pale, jumpy, and full of survivor's guilt. A few days later, while I was lounging around in sweats trying to emotionally process the fact that I'd gone from janitor-tier bodyguard to international hostage rescue hero, something very strange happened. The once high and mighty personal assistant of Mrs. Collins showed up at the estate again. But this time? She bowed. To me. "Please, Miss Max, watch your step. This way." Her voice was respectful. Too respectful. I glanced behind her to check if she had a gun to her head. What is going on? When we entered the living room, Charles's mom, usually a walking iceberg of luxury and judgment, rushed over and held my hand like I was her long-lost daughter. "Max, sweetheart," she cooed. "I've thought it over. You and Charles, we approve now." "Huh? We've got more money than we can spend in 10 lifetimes. But a good woman? A woman who'd risk her life for him?" She gave my hand a squeeze. "That's priceless. And poor Charles, he's had such a hard time finding someone he cares about. We can't stand in the way of that. Life matters more than money." Wait. What the hell is going on? Who said anything about me and Charles? Before I could form words, she pulled out a jade bracelet, so green and translucent it looked like it was dripping with liquid emerald, and gently slid it onto my wrist. "Here," she said with a warm smile, "this belongs with you." And then she patted my hand. And dismissed me like a guest at a royal tea party. I stumbled down the hallway like I'd just taken a blow to the head, staring at my wrist in shock. That bracelet? I recognized it. The makeup artist had told me about it once. Charles's mom had won it at some ultra-luxury auction. Worth over 100 million. As in 100 million renminbi. On my wrist. Just sitting there. "Max." Charles rounded the corner with his usual lazy elegance and reached for my arm. I instantly leapt backward like he was a serial killer. "Excuse me? My arm is now worth 100 million. Touch at your own risk." He blinked, clearly holding back a laugh. "Come here," he said. "I need to talk to you." "Max, do you want to get rid of your debt?" I nodded immediately. Debt sucked. No one wanted to owe $1 billion to a petty tyrant with perfect hair. "Then be my girlfriend," he said. "Date me, and all your debt disappears." I stared at him in shock. "You want to keep me as a mistress? Using billions to buy my loyalty, what is this, a palace drama?" Charles smacked my forehead with 2 fingers, rolling his eyes. "Don't be ridiculous. I've never paid to keep anyone. I'm asking you to be my girlfriend. For real. With the intention of marriage. Thud. That was the sound of the universe dropping a god-tier boyfriend proposal on my head. I looked up, dazed. Charles was, undeniably, insanely attractive. Sharp jawline, deep-set eyes, those slightly upturned fox-like lids that made him look naturally flirty. Rich, handsome, strong, and now proposing marriage? Was I still dreaming? That bracelet just now, Charles added, voice soft, it's something my mom's been saving for her future daughter-in-law. And now, she's given it to you. My parents are on board, Max. And you? Do you like me? Do I like Charles? I guess I do. But marriage was still such a big, far-off word. Just as I opened my mouth to answer, I agree to the marriage. My dad suddenly burst out of nowhere like a rocket, snatched the jade bracelet right off my wrist, and bolted like he was in the 100-meter Olympic final. Hey! Ben! Get back here. That's mine. The end.